Against all of my friends' advice, I fell for Nick really hard and really fast the summer after I turned 20. This was the early 90s, and it was a time that a woman was supposed to follow a man's lead in case she came on too strong or scared him off. And somehow my tearful pledges of love around our third month of dating in the parking lot of the Continental Club did not scare him off. It just rattled him just a little bit. The thing is, for as much as I knew that Nick was my soulmate, I was certain of it. He was equally certain of rationality and logic and thinking deeply about love and marriage. It was like I was governed by raw emotion, and the accelerator in my brain was just stuck on full speed ahead. It's all I could think about. Nick was governed by logic and reason, and the accelerator in his brain was stuck in neutral while he analyzed every possible outcome. I was kind of intrigued, but also infuriated with his ability to stay calm and rational in the middle of big fights or even big discussions while my heart was beating out of my chest, and I started calling him Mr. Computer Man. Despite all of our different approaches to commitment in the relationship, when you looked at us in our day-to-day lives, we were actually really deeply head over heels in love. We structured our days at UT Austin so we could spend every waking minute together. We would take classes together when we could. We would study together. We would spend many hours studying at Denny's, staying up really late and drinking coffee. And we just made the best study partners. I could keep us on track and help us focus on the details. And Nick could take the big picture and think about the philosophy of things. And together we made a really great team. Nick taught me to be really spontaneous and to seek the fun. When he met me, I had my nose to the grindstone, and I spent every waking minute going to class, going to work, studying, or going to office hours. That was all that I knew in life. But within a few months of dating Nick, I played hooky from work for the first time in my whole life. I just called in and said I was sick, even though I wasn't sick. And we spent the whole day together. We went down to San Antonio, and we went to the Riverwalk and had so much fun. And this was life with Nick. It was lived in the moment. It was spontaneous. It was adventuresome and always full of laughter. And so we went on like this for several years, just having these familiar cycles of me pushing for more and wanting more commitment, and him philosophizing about what does marriage even mean nowadays. And somewhere along the way, that accelerator in my brain kind of downshifted from full speed ahead and went to coast in first gear and slowed down and took in the sights around me. And that was the beauty of being with Nick. I slowed down, and I realized in the moment I was really happy. We had a great life, and I kind of just quit pushing for more, and I was happy with where we were. Life with Nick was never boring. It was always an adventure, and he loved to make different kinds of practical jokes, but they always ended with some kind of a really sweet gift. And the first New Year's Eve that we spent together, he crafted this amazing scavenger hunt that started with a clue that he had printed in the classified section of the Sunday paper and led me on to different shops and bakeries and all the way up to a little mountain town in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, where his friend's parents had a cabin and we had a romantic weekend. The next year was also Christmas. We also spent it in El Paso with Nick's family. And Nick knew that what I wanted that year, more than anything in the whole world for Christmas, all that I wanted was a pair of Birkenstock sandals. And he also knew that no one in my family, my very practical and frugal family, would ever possibly consider spending that much money on a pair of ugly shoes. So we went around the family, everyone's opening their gifts, and it comes my turn, and I open the box in my lap, I unwrap it, and it's a Birkenstock shoe box. And I jump out of my chair, and I hug him, and I start screaming, I can't believe you got these for me. I can't believe they're here. And I open the shoe box, and nestled inside is a Birkenstock coffee mug. And I try as hard as I can to hold it together. I'm fighting back the tears, and one of his sisters takes pity on me and reaches in and grabs the gift card that was in there the whole time so I could go get my shoes. Okay, so it's 1994, and we're coming up on our 4th anniversary, and we've been living together for a few years. We're living very frugally. in some very questionable apartments as we save every penny that we can so we can go to graduate school the next year. Nick has been in El Paso for a week visiting his family, but he's coming home right on our anniversary so we can celebrate. And he has planned the whole day, the date, just all on his own. And he's even splurged and agreed to take me out to a Thai restaurant around the corner from our house that we drive past every single day, but never go in because we never eat out because we're trying to save money. I'm so excited. We get to the restaurant, we get seated. Almost as soon as we get seated, Nick disappears to the bathroom for a really long time, but I don't even notice because I'm just poring over the menu is like a book, pages and pages of things to decide and dream about what are we gonna eat. He comes back and we order and the food is delicious. It's just the most amazing meal. We haven't eaten in a restaurant out for so long and it just feels so decadent. And it's made all the more delicious by how obnoxiously in love we are. We're like trying to hold hands and make googly eyes while we're eating, and we're just insufferable to all the people around us and so in love and happy. It was the best meal, and we get to the end of it, and I'm completely stuffed, and I know Nick is too, but he knows me well enough to know that no meal is complete for me without having something sweet. I have to have dessert. So the waiter comes over and asks, "May I bring you anything else?" And I sit up and I'm ready for him to order the mango sticky rice. And he doesn't. He just says, "No, bring us the check." But he says it in this really weird way. He says it like he's speaking in code. "Just bring us the check?" Oh my God. I have a really good spidey sense, and I can definitely tell that something is really off, but I don't know what it is, and my mind starts racing, and almost immediately I realize we can't pay for this meal. We've ordered so much food. I didn't even ask what our budget was. I don't know what's going to happen. The rule follower in me starts freaking out. I know on TV they let you wash dishes, but like what? What do they do in real life when you can't pay for your bill? I'm like really building up a lot of anxiety, and the waiter walks over with the check and he sets it on the table right between us. Without even opening the check, Nick looks at the waiter and says, "Don't you have fortune cookies?" The waiter looks at him like he's crazy. I look at him like he's crazy. Whoever had fortune cookies at a Thai food restaurant? The waiter kind of shakes his head no, and Nick, completely out of character, very aggressively, just deeply in this man's eyes says, "I thought you had fortune cookies at this restaurant." The guy shrugs and bolts out of there, and Nick pounces out of his chair, chasing after him, and I am lost. I'm like really spinning out now, trying to figure out what in the world is about to happen. And right when I'm like at my wit's end, Nick comes and sits down across from me with a waiter right on his heels with a plate with 2 fortune cookies. And he sets it on the table right between us. And Nick gets all excited and hands it to me and, reaches across the table. "Here, take one." I look at him really skeptically. These are the weirdest fortune cookies I've ever seen in my life, okay? They're kind of orange. They're not wrapped. They're just sitting on the plate, just unwrapped. And he's so excited. "Please take one, take one." So I grab it. I'm going to humor him. I'm going to crack it open. And I crack it, and it just bends. And then it bends back and keeps bending. And at this point, I'm so disgusted with this fortune cookie. It's like something is really wrong, but Nick is so excited. So I wrestle with this cookie and pull out the fortune. And it says, "Will you marry me?" And then I wrestle with the other cookie, and there's an engagement ring in it. And I sat there staring at these 2 things for so long that I think that Nick was afraid I might not say yes. I had this thing that I had been wanting for 4 years that I forgot that I had wanted because I wanted it so much. But I was afraid to believe it was true. And I think part of me was like waiting for the whole restaurant to stand up and start laughing at me, or like, what kind of joke was this? And finally, my brain kind of caught up and remembered that whenever Nick played a practical joke like that, it always ended with the sweetest gift. And this was the ultimate gift of all, the best one I could have. So I finally said yes. And everyone around us started cheering, and it was a super fun, happy moment. And Nick started telling me about his crazy week in El Paso, preparing this surprise, trying to pull it off. He had baked fortune cookies himself, but it didn't work. And then he bought boxes of fortune cookies, trying to find the one that would fit just right, that he could wedge the ring into, and he just broke all of them. And at some point along the way, he realized that he could steam the cookies and they would open up and he could put things in them. And he just forgot that he might need to crisp them back up. And that is the story of how a very rubbery, orange, unwrapped fortune cookie in a Thai restaurant in San Antonio changed my life forever.